Hello folks, how you doing today? And guys, I have a crazy theory and you know what? I'm very sure that this is happening. I've done a ton of thinking. I've honestly wanted to make this video for a while, and I've been doubting myself about it, and I finally came to the conclusion that I think there is so much evidence supporting this theory about Killer Croc and Injustice 2 that I think it's gonna happen. So this theory, this video is going to be called "Why Killer Croc is Not in Injustice 2." Now, let me take you back to the beginning. So let's go to Injustice Mobile, starting out. So Injustice Mobile starts putting out characters that would later show up in Injustice 2. You have characters like Darkseid and Deadshot, and then they also had Static, who we know was supposed to be in Injustice 2, but got cut. Now, Static was put into Injustice Mobile in 2014, I think it was April. It was April 2014, or March, April. So by that time, Static was probably planned to be in the game. So the mobile team probably decided, hey, let's put this planned character, put him in the mobile game for Injustice 2. But then it was revealed later on that Static ended up getting cut from the roster, as we saw the guy who came up with his character design put out a piece of artwork showing, hey, this was my artwork that I designed for the game, and it didn't get used. So that's how we know that Static was planned, but they didn't go through with it. Now, we're going to come back to mobile, because a very important thing with Killer Croc happened in Injustice Mobile, but we're going to come back to this later because it isn't really relevant right now. So let's just jump right into it. So Killer Croc appeared in the first Injustice Gods Among Us as a stage transition, and in my research, I found that a lot of people really wanted Killer Croc even in the first game, and when we all found out he was a stage transition, I think a lot of people were kind of bummed out. They were like, ah, damn. They were like, we really wanted Killer Croc, but it's okay. In the first game, it honestly made sense. Killer Croc is another Batman character, of which I think the first game was pretty well-rounded when it came to Batman characters. I didn't think there were too many. I think the first game is kind of the perfect collection of DC heroes, the most famous DC heroes and the most famous DC villains. Now, the second game, people were hyped for Killer Croc again, because it's like, all right, he got moved to the side in the first game. But now it's finally time for Killer Croc to show up in Injustice 2. And as you know now, same thing, not a playable character, and is a stage transition again. And you gotta ask the question. I mean, in this game, we have Hellboy, we have the Ninja Turtles, we have kind of a lot, we have Scarecrow as a hallucination, as a playable character. Like, I love Scarecrow, by the way. I think he's my favorite character so far, I think. I haven't played the DLC characters yet. I'm going to play them in a future series. But anyway, the thing is, you take a character like Scarecrow, where they took a hallucination of this sort of monster and made that the playable character. And that's like reaching. That's like reaching for an idea. When it's like you have Killer Croc. He's a giant crocodile, super strong, eats people. Why wasn't he in the game, right? It even comes down to this. I noticed this when I played the story mode for Injustice 2, and I think a lot of other people did. Now, there is one character that stands out to me as why did this character return? Because this character did not need to return. And that character is Bane. Bane is the only returning character in my eyes that just kind of doesn't really fit. And I don't know if a lot of people feel this way, but I just felt bringing Bane back was just kind of an odd choice when you have characters like Killer Croc missing, right? That's my original thought. And even in the story mode. So in the story mode, you have Gorilla Grodd assembling this faction. I kind of forget, but it's made up of a bunch of characters. You have Captain Cold, you have Deadshot and Cheetah, and Bane. Now here's the part that kind of just doesn't make sense to me. So you have Gorilla Grodd, who hates humans, and basically what Gorilla Grodd was in the story for was that he was like leading this revolution of gorillas to take down the humans, and then you find out later that Gorilla Grodd is working for Brainiac too. But here's the thing. You have to look at the characters, the villains that are supporting Gorilla Grodd, and you have Cheetah. Cheetah is part animal, so it makes sense that Cheetah wants to help Gorilla Grodd, because she is part animal herself. And then you have characters like Deadshot. Now, I know where you think I'm going with this. You're saying, well, how do you explain Deadshot and Captain Cold? Well, if my memory served me correctly, I think Gorilla Grodd planted a bomb in Deadshot's head, which he would detonate if he disobeyed him. I think that's what happened. So for Deadshot, it makes sense. He was forced to have a role in this society for Gorilla Grodd. And then Captain Cold is a little iffy, but my analysis is that Gorilla Grodd is a Flash villain, and so is Captain Cold. So I don't think it's that weird that they would work together, because they're both... Gorilla Grodd's a Flash villain, and so is Captain Cold, so it's like two Flash villains. They both don't like the Flash, so it's not that weird that they would work together. But Bane is the only one that doesn't make sense to me. He's not part animal. I've never felt like he got along with others very well. And even playing the story, he was the only one who really felt like they didn't fit in. Deadshot kind of fit in because he's a deadly assassin, and so he would make sense. But Bane as a character, and that he was forced to, for the bomb in his head. But let's move on now. Let's move on from this. Bane's placement in the story, out of all the characters, his seems the weirdest. And that's an important part of my theory. I think that Killer Croc was planned early on for Injustice 2, but then they decided, while they were writing the story was done, and then they decided afterwards, when they were planning more of the characters, they said, you know what? We can do something better with Killer Croc. I think they probably said to themselves, we think Killer Croc has more potential not in this game. Okay? So, then they probably decided, alright, so who are we going to put in Killer Croc's place? Now, here's where I'm going with this. They were probably, low on time. They probably didn't have enough time to design a whole new character when they were designing many other new characters. So they probably decided, let's bring back a character that would have played... a character that probably would have played somewhat similarly to Killer Croc, and that was Bane. So they probably took Bane and put him in Killer Croc's spot, because in the story, it would have made complete sense for Killer Croc to join Gorilla Grodd. They're both animals, and I'm assuming they both hate humans. Them working together really just would have been a no-brainer. It just would have made complete sense. That would be awesome if Ed one day can tell us if that's actually what happened, because I have a sneaking suspicion that that is what happened. Let's move on to the meat and potatoes, though, of this theory. So, I said a couple minutes ago, Killer Croc has more potential somewhere else. Now, what the hell does that mean? Why wouldn't Killer Croc be put in a DC game? Where else can they put him? Well, enter Injustice Mobile, during the height of the DLC getting revealed, they put Killer Croc in the first Injustice Mobile game. Not the second Injustice Mobile game, the first. Now, so many people are confused by this. Now that we know Killer Croc is not going to be in Injustice 2, so many people are confused by his inclusion in the mobile game. Like, what was that about? And here's my analysis for you. He was put in the first Injustice mobile game because NetherRealm wanted to send a message to us saying, Killer Croc, they wanted it to be crystal clear. Killer Croc is not going to show up in Injustice 2. But I want you to not count out Killer Croc in some playable fashion just yet. So, where am I going with this? Why is Killer Croc not in Injustice 2? What are they doing with him? They're going to put, here is my statement, they are going to put Killer Croc in the next Mortal Kombat. You heard me right, the next Mortal Kombat. Now, you're probably thinking, what? If they wanted to put him in the Mortal Kombat, why wouldn't they put him in the Mobile Combat X mobile game? And here's why they wouldn't do that. That's just flat out obvious. If they did that, then it's just, oh, he'll be in the next Mortal Kombat. And where's the surprise in that? And if they put him in the Injustice 2 mobile game, then he's an Injustice 2 character now, which he's not. The first Injustice mobile game is the only way they could send the message to us saying, here's playable Killer Croc, and you'll be able to play as him in the future. This is the only game they could have put him in, besides WWE Immortals, but he wouldn't have fit in that game at all. This is the only game they can put him in where he A, makes sense, and B, doesn't automatically get included into Injustice 2, and they also don't want to reveal him for the next Mortal Kombat too soon by putting him in that mobile game. So, and they just so happened to put Killer Croc in the game at the height of DLC talk. They obviously wanted us, the fans, to talk about Killer Croc. That's what they wanted. They wanted us to be like, Killer Croc is coming. Oh, wow. We're going to play as him soon. But not in Injustice 2. Mortal Kombat. Now, if you think that's weird, if you think that it's weird that we're going to play as a killer crocodile, giant killer crocodile, in a game where you kill people, that's not weird. And it's not weird for Killer Croc as a character. In everything we've ever seen him in, he loves to kill, he loves to eat people and other things, I guess. And that's his thing. His thing is like, I've got your scent, I'm hunting you. In the Arkham games, he's a killer. He's a killer, and he's an assassin, and that's his thing. You know, he's the, honestly, I was going to make like a top 3 or top 5 characters, DC characters that could be in the next Mortal Kombat, but I just never ended up making it because I really just could never see anyone besides Killer Croc in that game. Like, maybe the only other character could be like Atrocitus, but like, I think why even bother at that point? I don't think Atrocitus is a character that people are like, whoa, it's Atrocitus. Like, I don't think people are going to care that much. But Killer Croc, I think people are going to care. I think a lot of people like Killer Croc. And he would serve Mortal Kombat perfectly. Now, here's my final thing. This is going to end this whole thing. So, in the NetherRealm games, they've been introducing a pattern that I don't think they're going to break. So, it starts out with the first Injustice Gods Among Us. Now, that game didn't need advertising because I think a fighting game made by NetherRealm for just DC characters, I think was big enough news as it is. I don't think they needed the Mortal Kombat push that much. But who was playable in Injustice? That's a Mortal Kombat character. Scorpion. Scorpion was playable. And why exactly was that? Well, obviously, Mortal Kombat X was the next game to come out. It's a way for NetherRealm to bridge the Injustice players over to Mortal Kombat. Scorpion comes in to the DLC game, and the Injustice characters may not really know who he is, and they're like, "Who's Scorpion?" "Oh, Mortal Kombat." "Oh, look, the next Mortal Kombat game featuring this character is coming out. I guess I'll buy that game." And then you go over to Mortal Kombat X, and they didn't feature any DC characters in that game, but you jump over to Injustice 2, and now we have Sub-Zero and Raiden, two characters from Mortal Kombat. Now, in Mortal Kombat X, I am assuming that they didn't want to put a DC character in that game because you have characters like Jason and Freddy Krueger and all this crazy shit. And I'm assuming that the whole DC thing, they were just like, okay, we don't want our characters in this. We don't want, like, you putting Superman in this game with Freddy Krueger, you know? Or not Freddy Krueger, I'm sorry. He was in 9 with Alien and, you know, Leatherface. I'm assuming that's not what they wanted, but I think they're starting a trend now. They put 2 Mortal Kombat characters in Injustice 2. And honestly, I think the stage transition thing, a post on Reddit showed the model for the Killer Croc in Injustice 2, and he just, this is just my opinion, but he just looks hilariously stupid. Like, it is so funny. I even looked it up. I said, like, this is not Killer Croc. I, like, looked it up and I said, are there any other Killer Crocs? Like, are there any other DC characters that have, like, Killer Croc's disease that make him look like a giant crocodile? And I couldn't find any. I don't think there are any other Killer Croc disease characters. So, like, that's Killer Croc. Like, that, if he was playable, that would have been his design, and it just looked hilariously stupid. But here's the thing. It was like that on purpose. I think it was just a major troll. It was a major troll by Ed and the team. And I think it has payoff. I think it's going to have payoff. I wouldn't have thought this if they didn't put him in Injustice Mobile. But it has to be. But really, think about it. Killer Croc, a killer giant crocodile character who loves to kill and eat people. He's so perfect for Mortal Kombat. He's literally perfect. And it's a perfect way to bridge the gap between Injustice 2 and Mortal Kombat 11. I mean, Injustice 2 is a lot of the people who play this. I mean, I'm assuming more kids play Injustice 2 than Mortal Kombat, obviously, because it's a rated T game. And Mortal Kombat's a rated M game. So I'm sure that there are just less people jumping from Injustice 2 to Mortal Kombat, just for that basic reality alone. That there's just a big age gap difference just in the ESRB rating of the game. And Killer Croc just simply fits in perfectly. Now, how is he going to appear? Well, pretty simply, I think he's going to be DLC. I think he's going to show up in the first combat pack for the next Mortal Kombat. I think that's just the easiest assumption for his character. But you know what I think would be awesome? And I think this is possible, is maybe he could be the pre-order bonus for the game. But then again, I think the pre-order bonus they would want to save for an actual Mortal Kombat character. Like, I'm sure Shao Kahn will return, and he's kind of like the ultimate bad guy of Mortal Kombat. And for Injustice 2, it was Darkseid. So I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I think Shao Kahn is going to be the pre-order bonus for Mortal Kombat 11, and then Killer Croc will show up as DLC. And I also think Spawn, definitely, without a doubt, a DLC. He will be in the first DLC pack. it's going to be Killer Croc, Spawn, and then some other crazy movie character. Who knows? Who knows who? Whoever, Mike Myers or something, you know? Mike Myers, whoever they haven't used yet. That's going to be who the DLC first combat pack is going to be. Killer Croc, or maybe Spawn would be in the second pack. It doesn't matter. He's definitely in it, and I think Killer Croc is definitely going to be in the next Mortal Kombat. I mean, think about it. Really, if you really don't believe me, think about it. What other reason would they have to not put Killer Croc in Injustice 2? I mean, well, because what? Too many Batman characters? Well, he could have taken the place of Scarecrow, who's a hallucination, you know? Or Bane. He could have taken Bane's place, which I already talked about. Who I think they put in Bane and swapped Killer Croc out. You know, it's... I mean, you have characters like Poison Ivy who had to be in this game. You could not sell this game without Poison Ivy. But anyway, that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this theory, and I really want to make... I have another big prediction about who I think is going to be a Mortal Kombat DLC character. A third-party character. And I think they are this character is just perfect for Mortal Kombat. Just completely perfect. Two characters who I think are perfect. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. This video is pretty long, but you know what? It's good for the I don't know, the browse features. I don't know. Anyway, if you like this theory, give it a like. If you think I might be right about this, leave a comment. I think at this point, I think I have a little bit of credibility for getting the Ninja Turtles right, but that's a completely different thing. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter, and please support me on Patreon if you want to. All that good stuff, dude. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Keep on fighting. Have a fantastic day.